Tonight, a Cronkite News special report, breaking the silence. Native Americans have the highest suicide rates in the nation, and young Native Americans face an even greater risk. Here in the Southwest, efforts are underway to overcome the stigma of talking about mental health and to help Native youth build resiliency and connect with their culture. I traveled to White River, Arizona, where those whose lives have been touched by suicide came together to offer prayers for those lost and words of support for those left to carry on. On a cool summer's day in the White Mountain Apache community, a group of people gather to remember loved ones.
We tend to blame ourselves for what happened. We tend to beat ourselves down because we weren't there.
Tonita Harvey is much too familiar with the feeling.
We should have been there. We could have been there.
Her cousin died by suicide a few years ago, but the memory of her passing is still fresh in her mind.
It was very tragic for all of us to get the news early in the morning and wonder and then research and figure out what happened. And you have a lot of questions. You don't know where they're going or what happened. Did they suffer? What were they thinking? All these whys.
Her faith at a crossroads.
It questions your spirituality.
When the tragedy occurred.
In the saddest way. You don't know what the true meaning of life is. If somebody does this, is it good? Is it bad? Is there a God that cares? Why didn't he step in and say something? That's why I'm here for my cousin. And, I have other friends that have killed themselves too, and it's just sad. It's sad knowing that they're hurting and we can't come up with an answer.
The Life is Precious initiative by the Apache Behavioral Health Services tries to at least come up with support through suicide prevention walks like this one.
You think you're alone, but being out here, I see that there's other people. You remember there's other people, other families that suffered.
Harvey is just one of many families. Suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the U.S., and according to the CDC, suicide disproportionately affects American Indians and Alaska Natives the most among any other racial or ethnic group in the country. Apache Behavioral Health Services hopes to combat these numbers by helping the community open up
just the awareness that it brings
about how to help each other out.
If people are starting to talk about it a little bit more, maybe people will have the courage enough to say, I need the help. And people will be there to, be able to identify when someone is at risk.
Bless the people that don't know how to ask, because it's a tough battle.
The CDC reports suicide and mental health issues are highly stigmatized in Native American communities, second only to HIV or AIDS.
It's been a taboo for anyone to talk about it here in our community, and so having this open space, maybe someone who's at risk can think, maybe I can talk to them, maybe they'll be able to listen to me.
Just to be there, just to listen, that's all that matters.
And at the end of the day, you might just see a couple of orange peels left behind. But what you might not see are all of the footsteps that the community left behind too. Walking out of today a little stronger.
For us to just come alongside each other and encourage each other and comfort each other and say, we can do this together. That's what we're all here for.
A little more resilient.
And I think that's what we all need to know.
Than they were yesterday.
Is that, there's other people out here that care and love too.
The walk is held every year, and the goal really is to empower the community by allowing them to see that they're not alone, and that together, by starting this conversation, they can make a positive difference. And it's a difference they say really needs to be made, especially among young people. This CDC data tracks suicide rates nationally, and this yellow line right here shows how suicide disproportionately affects Native American young people compared to other ethnic groups, especially for those 15 to 34 years of age. There were 151 deaths by suicide in 2016, but that's only part of the story. 340 of those people made attempts that resulted in hospitalizations. There were 2,000 attempts overall, and 12,000 people reported that they had seriously considered suicide. And among all adults, Native Americans were 2.5 times more likely than whites to report having serious psychological distress. The key to reducing these numbers, according to mental health experts, is teaching coping skills that address feelings like these. I visited Native Health in Phoenix, where a youth resiliency program is helping young Native Americans build better coping skills by building hand drums.
I believe I was started on this path because when I was 11 years old, one of my peers, they completed suicide. And I was the first one to see it. And it changed my whole life. We have such a strong, beautiful culture that I'm so proud of.
Say, I am proud to be indigenous.
You really see the beauty of who we are as a people. But then you also see the bad.
There's a lot of hardships, you know.
There's a lot of healing that needs to be done. I believe it's so vital. Our young people, our American Indian, our Native Indigenous people, we have the highest rates of suicide. Young people, they're striving to find their identity. And if they're growing up out here in the city and they don't have those connections with, their holy places, or if they're not going to ceremony, they could be lost very easily.
How many of y'all want to make a hand drum? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
We are reaching out to young people, those that are growing up in the city that don't necessarily have a direct connection to their homelands or their communities back home and their families and the traditions. And we're trying to give them something here where they can have a connection, a personal connection with who they are as Indigenous people.
Be proud of who you are. You might go into this world and you might feel all this energy over here. You might feel all this energy over here. Son, that has nothing to do with you.
By reintroducing that strong sense of who they are, it's like giving them a tool to combat all these things that are coming at them.
Everybody grab your hide like this. You just hold it and you put your blessing into it. And that's how we're gonna start this.
We're hoping that we can give these young people that sense of pride, that strong sense of who they are.
All right, y'all, now we can go.
They were able to create something that was solely theirs. And, they created their own personal design. And it's all a journey for self-discovery, self-identity.
What I learned today is how to make a drum. It's like a reminder of who you are and not to lose who you are with the world around you.
How you jump? How you jump?
Our youth are our next generation. They're the ones that are going to be our next leaders. So if we can impact change with them, then the future is going to be better for our communities.
You gotta say it like you believe it. Not like, I am. Let me hear it one time, all right, y'all? I want y'all to feel it. Say, I am proud to be indigenous. Say, we are still here.
The one thing that, I always tell young people is to be a Native person in America right now is incredible. That means you come from such strong blood because your people survived. You come from really strong ancestors.
Touch your chest, your Chicxulub, your heart. Say, I'm still here. Say, I'm alive. I'm in 4th grade and I'm feeling good. I don't know, somebody's in 4th grade, I don't know. Some of y'all might come from 4th grade.
That's what I want our young people to recognize, to know. Be proud of who you are, of that identity of your culture, because it's so unique.
Take your drum, you'll find a design in there, and that design will relate to you. And they say this is a renewal, this is like a new beginning, but you have to take care of this. And they say if you take care of this, the medicine from this will take care of you.
Culture, identity, spirituality is going to be the answer for a lot of the social ills that we face as a people.
Native Health is an urban health clinic with locations in Phoenix and Mesa. The organization offers culturally sensitive wellness services as well as community programs like these. Leanne told me that while she knows their youth resiliency program can't reach everyone, she hopes to at least help as many young people as she can. And if you or someone you know is in need of immediate support, you can reach the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255. For this Cronkite News special report, I'm Jennifer Alvarez.